Okay, well, welcome guys. My name's Trent. I'm going to be on with you guys again this week. I was on last week, but for some reason, GoToWebinar has been having some issues with some other computers, but mine, we were able to get it to work. So I get to speak with you guys again. So let's get through the disclosure, and then we'll chat here and kind of lay out the ground rules and talk about what's going to be happening here for the next little bit. So.
Due to federal and state regulations, we are providing the following disclosure. Please stay tuned, as this will take less than a minute. Foreign exchange and futures trading are highly risky, and you can lose all the money you invest should you decide to engage in live trading. We are not responsible for your investment, trading, or tax decisions. We are not licensed financial advisors, traders, accountants, stockbrokers, or attorneys. We are not licensed commodities brokers and do not engage in or facilitate commodities transactions. We are not an introducing broker, and we make no recommendation as to where you should invest or what broker you should trade with. As you apply what you learn, we recommend you seek advice from licensed professionals. Any trade results that we show should not be considered typical of our students. We do not and cannot track the results or performance of our students' private trading accounts. We do not know what a typical or average student earns or loses trading. This is not a get-rich-quick program, guaranteed system, or business opportunity. We sell training and trading tools. We make no promises our training or tools will generate future income for students, and you may not make your investment back, including your investment in this training. Any redistribution or recording of this material is strictly prohibited without advance written permission.
All right.
Due to federal and state regulations,
we do not want to listen to that again, do we? Got to keep those governing bodies happy. So, well, welcome guys. Welcome to the LIT member meeting. If you're just getting started with us and you're on our trial, you're in the right place. Appreciate you guys being on here and being patient with us while we've been working through these technical difficulties. For those of you who are new to GoToWebinar, or if this is your first time, first of all, I'd like to hear from you. Give me a shout, say hi. For those of you who are new or just getting started with us this week. Hold on one second. Wow. Computer doesn't like something here. Hold on. All right, now there we go. Yeah, so for those of you who are just getting started with this, or you just got on the trial with us, welcome John, welcome Trevor. Trevor from Utah, what's up, man? Jenny, what's going on? New here tonight, awesome. So a bunch of you new, first time on the webinar, that's great. So for those of you who are just getting started, you're probably just getting your software downloaded, getting your indicators up and running, and you guys are getting familiar with the program a little bit as far as probably watching your videos. We're going to be going through that and like some of the steps that you should be going through as far as getting the full your guys's full exposure, full experience out of this trial for the next 30 days. So, but a little bit about my background and why I'm on here with you guys here today. So I've been trading now for 5 years. Got into trading. My background is business. I originally started trading mainly just because my wife and I, we'd built a small little bakery. I'm originally from Idaho. I live in Utah now. And we had scaled this location out to 4. We actually had 2 locations, actually 3 locations in Idaho and 1 in Utah. We did that for quite a while. I think it was like 8 years. And on top of that, we owned a couple other businesses, and I had 3 kids. And life was just getting spread out thinner and thinner. In fact, there was a point where we felt like we didn't even have a home. We were just living out of our cars because we were driving around so much. Taking care of these businesses. I don't know how many of you guys have been in the restaurant or the bakery business before, or even have owned your own business. It can be a lot of work, and not that I'm afraid of hard work. It's just, the type of business that we were in, it required a lot of it. So yeah, a bunch of you guys, appreciate you guys. Let me know that you're here for the first time. Welcome, Christopher, Todd. Just catching up on the questions panel here. But yeah, it looks like some of you have been involved in businesses before, even the restaurant industry. It's a lot of work. And my wife finally turned to me and she said, I want to spend more time with our family. I want to spend more time with the kids. So, I'm interested in maybe selling our business. And I said, okay, I supported her in that idea. But the big question came up, and that was, well, what are we going to do next? And that's really, I was okay with selling things. I was okay with kind of hitting this reset on our life, but and we were smart people. We knew how to start businesses, but I really wanted something that wasn't going to take away so much time out of my life, but I still had that entrepreneurial lifestyle that I was, that I really like, and that is like to be able to be my own boss, be able to, get rewarded for the amount of work and energy and effort that I put into something. Really, I didn't want to be limited on the amount of money that I could make, all those kinds of things, work my own hours. And I was really looking for something that kind of fit that mold. And I looked at all kinds of things, but I ran into a friend and he introduced me into day trading, and I've never looked back since. And it really caught my attention. And there was a couple things that really caught my attention. And I'm sure a lot of you that are here today can resonate with me. Yeah, it looks like so. A few of you have owned your own businesses, construction companies, nail salons. Yeah, so you guys know where I'm coming from, right? So yeah, it's a lot of work on your own business, but there's also that reward too. And the thing is we're staring down the barrel of an interesting economy right now, right? Something that we've never seen before. And I want to address that as well. And a lot of you, I'm looking at some of the businesses that you've owned or that you've been a part of, and you're probably being affected by what's been going on this last year. And the cool thing about what we've got going on, and this is one of the main things that caught my attention, is the markets, the financial markets. Um, you know, More millionaires are made in the financial markets than any other industry in the world. And when I heard that for the very first time, I was like, well, why is that? Like, what is it that they're doing there that I could learn, or that I might even be missing out on, and I want to know how they're doing it. And when I found out about day trading, and I found out that day traders, and day trading is kind of a funny thing, right? Like, I didn't really know what it meant. And so that was one of the parts about day trading that really caught my attention, was these guys who go into the markets for a short amount of times and make, profits. They're in and out of the markets. Like, my extent of the market, my knowledge of the market was really, um, like, you bought stock and you held on to it, right? And you hoped that, like, maybe it would do something. And I tried that actually a few times, and it just didn't work out very well for me prior to learning how to do all of this. And it was just a lack of knowledge. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't trained by anybody. Somebody gave me some notion or some idea that, like, this was going to do well. And it was just because I just didn't have the know-how. Well, I learned about day trading, and it caught my attention for the main reason that, regardless of what kind of economy I'm in, regardless of what's going on, I can make money. And I can make money in an up market, and I can make money in a down market. And that's the part about all of this that just really caught my attention, is I don't have to, I trade personally now, guys. I trade maybe 1-2 hours a day. And I want to talk a little bit about that and my routine. I talked about this last week, so for those of you who were on here last week, you might hear a little bit about what I talked about as far as, like, what's helped me become successful in day trading. For those of you who are new, yeah, like, feel free to ask me any questions around this. Like, that's what I'm here for today. But yeah, like, the ability to, regardless of what kind of economy I'm in, and I built a business back in 2008. If you guys know what happened during that 2008 time frame, when the real estate market wasn't doing very well. In fact, it started tanking. There were a lot of people around us that were really struggling, and I decided to go and build a business during that time. And it was difficult. And the idea now, knowing that regardless of what happens, especially this year, I've made money in an up market or even in a down market. And we see the markets, they're really volatile. There's a lot of uncertainty. And yet, like, day traders go in there, and we get in and out of the markets. We're not as exposed as someone with, like, a 401k or that are invested in a lot of these stocks and stuff. Like they're sitting on their investments and their retirements, praying and hoping that the market doesn't fall out or fall through, right? And for me, I'm like, yeah, my money's out. Like I put it in this morning, got in, got out, and I'm just gonna wait for the next day and see what happens there. So it's exciting, and hopefully you guys get a little bit of a taste of that over the next few weeks. And one thing, and hopefully everybody here that's on this webinar, and if you don't have this and don't know how to get access to it, please let me know. That everybody here should have access to somebody that's going to help them over these next few weeks, teach them some strategies, give them some feedback, help them hold their hand through the trading process, so you guys can get a fair chance at understanding, what we're up to, so that you guys can make a decision that works best for your family, and then we can, help figure out what works best for you guys and how you guys can get started with us long term. So for me, 5 years ago, when I got into this, I went through coaching, I went through advanced training, did it for a few weeks, worked with my coach, and I want to discuss some of the things that have stuck with me to this day that has helped me get to where I am. And one of the main things, I want to talk about my checklist and what it is that I do every single day. And I talked about this a little bit. You guys hear me say this. A checklist for a day trader is very similar to that of somebody who's a pilot. If any of you guys are pilots or know people, I'm sure all of us somewhere in our circles, we know somebody who's flown or flies. If you ever fly with a pilot, they have a checklist. Why is it that they have a checklist? Like what's the purpose of every single, it doesn't matter how many hours these guys have. What's the purpose of every time they crawl into that craft? Why do they go through a series of checks? Yeah, exactly, Trevor. Trevor said to make sure they don't forget something. Right, like there's a lot on the line for a pilot when they are flying. Not only is their life on the line, but maybe the passengers that are with them at that time, right? So it's very important that one little thing out of place could possibly cause, something to not go right. And it's the same thing in day trading. Like when you can, as you're going through training, and especially in the advanced training, you guys are going to start developing a series of checks. And for me, it looks something like this. So, and I like to talk about my routine. My routine every single day, guys, is my check. In the beginning, I was really sloppy about this because I didn't understand the importance of it. And so what I would do is I would get up early in the morning. It used to start at, at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd get up at 6, and I got up at 5, and it actually got to the point where I was waking up at 4:15 in the morning because I felt like I had to be in the markets as soon as possible. And there really just was no rhyme or reason. I just was getting up earlier and earlier and earlier. So now for me, I'm up at 5:15, and I work out, I exercise. And the reason why I do that actually plays a huge role in my day and in my trading. For me, I want my mind to be alert, and I want to be awake. That was one thing that I noticed, is that if I just woke up, it doesn't matter, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I was groggy, I was tired, I was not alert. And it seemed like every mistake that I made happened in my very first trade. And so to combat that for myself, I get up and I work out, and I take about 1 hour to just get my body warmed up. And so by the time I get back from the gym, I'm at the computer at 7:30, and that's the time that I've chosen to trade the markets, is at 7:30 in the morning. Now, the cool thing is you don't have to be like me. You don't have to trade at 7:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. The markets that we're looking at and that we're going to be trading on is the currency market, and that market is open 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? And so you get to find a time and a and a schedule that works for you, that works well for you. Everybody's schedule is going to look a little bit different, right? And so you guys get to find something that works well for you. And that could be in the evening time. So if you have to work during the day, you have to be work early in the mornings, then you can be at your computer trading in the evening times. And the other thing that you get to work on in advanced trading is a trade strategy that fits you, your time frame, and your personality. See, for me, guys, what I found out in my advanced training is that I'm a scalper, and that was really evident really quickly. I like I like satisfaction now. Like I'm the type of person that like if I throw in a long-term trade and it sits there for a couple hours, like I'm just pulling my hair out. You know what I mean? Like I want to see a result now. And I've had to learn to get patience in trading, but because of that attribute about myself, I like scalping because if I follow my rules and I'm in and out of the market within a matter of 5-10 minutes, which is typically what my trades last, and they can last longer, but 5-10 minutes, I'm in and I'm out, then I'm less likely to do something stupid, right? And so if I get that trade, I get my win, I'm good, right? And I feel that satisfaction, and then I can go back to following my rules to make the next trade, the second trade. So that's what I do. Is in the mornings I scalp, I open up my computer, and the next part of my routine is I check the economic calendar. For me, it's Forex Factory. And we'll just go there right now real quick. And hopefully all of you guys know about this, but for those of you who don't or are new, Forex Factory, so the reason why this matters to you as a trader, at least should be of importance, is the countries are releasing economic data on a day-to-day basis. And these are indicators and they're numbers that play a role in how it's information on how the economy is performing, and investors and institutions are looking at these numbers and they're basically making their decisions based on how economies perform. And the guys like the big banks and large investors and hedge funds and things like that, like they're the guys who are placing massive orders in the market. And so it's good for us to understand when these high impact announcements come out, and the high impact announcements are labeled in red. And so it's just, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here tonight. This is something that honestly, like you guys just need to come here every day and start familiarizing yourself around it. Plus, like you'll get a lot more information on it in advanced coaching, but it suffices for me to show you guys at least how to navigate it. And the way that I would get familiar with this is when you open it up every day, look at these folders over here on the right hand side. So like, for example, this folder that's labeled red, Fed Chair Powell testifies. If you click on that and you open that up, it's going to give you guys some information around like why that was pertinent for today, right? So a good rule of thumb for those of you who are new is I would just steer clear of trading about 30 minutes before these announcements come out, and about 15 to 20, 30 minutes after the announcement passes. So let's say you trade at 9 in the morning and Fed Chair Powell's testifying at 9 in the morning, then wait for that to pass, and you might need to check to see how long or what the expectancy is on that. You could trade maybe other currency pairs. That's another option, that anything that maybe isn't tethered to the US dollar. And I see a lot of traders do that, but just let it pass. And once the indicators kind of reset, then you can go in and you can start placing your trades. All right. Let me make sure there's any questions before I move on here. Yeah, I appreciate that feedback, Trevor, and you're right. Like a lot of this, Trevor, you're going to get. So we made the comment that things like this, like habits, a routine, is something good to be talking about, and he's right. And actually, you'll probably hear it from your Lite coach. They usually will talk about creating a routine, but in advanced coaching, it is part of the curriculum to go through and start creating that routine and starting those good habits, so that you have those built in to when you move into advanced trading and moving forward with your trading career. So yeah, great comment. Awesome. So once I check my economic data, the next thing that I like to do is I go into my green charts. And for me, I trade, I keep it really basic. In fact, I get this question a lot, guys. In fact, like I had some friends who I've known for a couple years who trade in our organization. I've talked to them on the phone for quite a while. They came up from Chicago and met with us for about a week and hung out at our facility here in Lehi, Utah for a while. And they're like, Trent, like we want to see you trade. We want to hang out with you and trade with you. And I said, that's totally fine. But here's the thing is like, you're going to be sadly disappointed in how basic and simple that I trade, because they're expecting when they come into my office, like multiple monitors and, like a lot of energy and a lot of, whatever. And I have a humble little laptop. I actually have two screens in here, but I usually trade on just my laptop. And about what you guys are looking at is about what I trade with. Here's what I love about our indicators is they do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. See, like traditionally people who get into day trading, they have to use a ton of instruments and a bunch. I hope I don't offend anybody here, but like a bunch of crap in order to even get some kind of reading on the market. But what's nice is that what we've got for you guys here is something that's really simple and easy to understand. You don't need a bunch of stuff. Now, do I have traders? Do I know of traders who have multiple monitors and things going on? Yeah, I do. And if that works for them, that's great. I'm never going to discourage anybody from having success. But for me, like I like to keep it pretty simple. So what you guys see right here is literally how I trade. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse or some taste of like what advanced training or advanced coaching might look like for you guys. So like I mentioned, I like to scalp trade. And for me, when I'm scalp trading, I used to be a coach. I actually have trained hundreds of traders over the years. I don't do it anymore, but one of the things that I used to teach people in my advanced trainings is I used to show people that so a little side note, and those of you that have been trading or been with us now for a few weeks, you've learned about candlesticks in the market, right? And there are different time frames that day traders can watch in the markets. There's 1 minute, 5 minute, 60 minute, daily, weekly, monthly, you get it, right? So there's not just like one time frame. And I actually didn't know that before I got into trading. Like I was used to like opening up my phone and I would look at like a stock quote and it was like, oh, here's the price. And then you'd like click on like some things and it'd be like 5 year, 1 year. And I didn't even really know what that meant. But here's the thing is like, one of the things that I like to teach people and to get them to understand like why we use different time frames is it's like this. I have this little analogy. So I use, and I don't have a circle on my computer. I need to get that put back on, but I have a square. But like imagine a bowling ball. Like if we were bowling and I had a bowling ball, right? Like it's heavy, it's dense, it's got a lot of mass to it, right? And then if I had let's say a baseball, and then I had a ping pong ball, right? So, or let's use a golf ball. That's going to work better in this situation. So if I roll the golf ball down the bowling alley, I might knock over one pin, right? Like it's maybe, right? Like one pin could possibly happen. If I use a driver, then yeah, we could probably knock over one pin. Baseball, maybe a couple pins, right? If I get lucky. And then if I roll the bowling ball, I can knock over 10 pins, right? So what if I rolled all 3 balls at the same time? Well, the likelihood of me getting all 10 pins goes up, right? So think of trading like that. Like this is why traders look at different time frames is for me, I don't want to fight against the bowling ball. I don't want to take a baseball or even a golf ball and roll it against a bowling ball. The bowling ball is going to win, right? So what I'm trying to do is the 60-minute chart for me, that is like my bowling ball. Like that is, for another word that you guys might hear in day trading, is that's my trend, right? Or it's my bias. That's the direction that I want to be scalping. And so one of the things that I like to do, and let me see if I can get rid of these and out of our way here. Clean this up for us. So one of the things I like to do, and this is a perfect example on the Euro US, okay? So what I'm looking for on all of these indicators is I'm trying to get uh, um, an idea on what the 60-minute chart is doing. Because remember, if I'm a scalper, I'll be honest, I don't really care what like a daily or a weekly chart. Like that's way too much time. If I'm in and out of the market in 5 or 10 minutes, like the daily has hardly any impact on my trade. But a 60-minute, like that's going to have impact. Like I want to see over the last couple hours what the market direction is, right? And so that's what this is helping me see. So two of the main things that I'm really looking at in the 60-minute chart is I've got my eye on the orange lines. Now let's take a second and understand why the orange lines. The orange lines, so if you guys don't know this yet, on the orange lines, there's values attached to these guys. Over here on the left-hand side, this is a value attached to the thick orange line. This guy, think of it like a floor and a ceiling. 100, negative 100 is a floor, and 0 is a ceiling. So if I take a ball and I bounce it on the floor, it's going to bounce, right? So it's the same thing. Like this thing's going out and it's helping us see basically floors and ceilings, right? Another word for that might be support and resistance. And so if this hits 100, it's basically telling me that there's a possibility that the market might be slowing down, stopping, or maybe even reversing. So it's just kind of a nice little like signal that I can look for that helps me see where we're at in that part of the market, right? Now the thin orange helps like firm that up for me. So moving forward here, like if I look at just the orange lines on my chart right now, both the thick orange line and the thin orange line are pointing up. So what is that indicating to me based on what I told you guys? Well, that right now there's basically some buying happening in the market. Like that's kind of the cycle that we're in. And we're kind of, we're not too close to really any kind of support or resistance. So there's still some room to go up. How about that? Okay, so that's one of the things that I like to look at. The second thing I like to look at is the pressure. Now the pressure, honestly guys, is probably my favorite indicator. And here's why. The pressure, the way I like to describe or teach the pressure is it's a lot like your garden hose on your house, right? Like you have that control where like, you can adjust how much water, how much pressure the hose has. Believe it or not, the market has pressure as well. So some days the pressure of the market is really, really strong and it's heading in a direction, whether that's going up or it's going down, bullish or bearish, right? And sometimes the market doesn't really know what it wants to do. And so that might be sideways. And sometimes the market is weak or it's, someone might be have more influence on it than the others. And so the cool thing about the pressure indicator is it tells us a lot of these things, right? A lot of people don't even really know exist. So a good rule of thumb with the pressure indicator is one is the red line. So anytime, a good little side note, if you guys are taking notes, a good little side note is anytime you guys see the color red, usually that's affiliated with sellers in the market or selling. It's usually associated with that group of people. And then anytime you see green or like the green, so like green candles, green lines, usually that's affiliated with buying influence in the market or the buyers, okay? So the pressure indicator, if you look at it with those eyes, red is representing some of the selling influence in the market and green representing some of the buying influence in the market. So I have 3 rules around this indicator. Rule number 1 is I'm looking at direction. So if you look at the tip of these lines, so we read this indicator on the far right of the lines, they're pointing up. So if both lines are pointing up, then that's basically a point to the buy side. Rule number 2 is what I like to call convergence or divergence. Convergence meaning coming together, divergence meaning pulling apart. So if the lines are converging, think of that like continuation. So converging or even parallel, then I would look at that as like continuation. If they're pulling apart, then usually that's like a slowing down or a separation. All right. And so that's the second rule. And then the third rule is which color is on top. Now, the third rule is really a lesser rule, and here's why. Like, this is a perfect example of the third rule. Red's on top, but both lines are pointing up. So what that tells me is that there is some selling influence, or at least there was at some point. But right now, if I'm going to trade this market, I should be buying, right? Because the first and second rule basically trump the third rule, right? In this circumstance, like I at least want 2 out of 3. So I want, in my trading, when I'm looking at the bias for the 60-minute chart, I want at least my TNTs, which is the orange lines, and I want my pressure to agree. If those two groups agree, then that basically gives me the go-ahead to scalp in that direction. So tonight, if I'm trading with you guys tonight, I should be buying. That is the direction that I want to be buying. Now, there might be some questions, or you guys might be thinking, well, Trent, like, why aren't you looking at the majors and the minors? And I do. And the cool thing is that the majors and the minors actually are in agreement with exactly what I just stated. They're actually going up. The thing that I like about the majors and the minors, especially in the 60-minute, is they can tell me a story. And this really comes with a lot more advanced training, especially experience when you guys are around these indicators a lot more. But the majors and the minors can actually tell me a story around what the players in the market are doing. And right now, like if you guys have watched your videos in Trade University, you know that the majors represent major impact in the market. And a lot of the time, the minors, they can agree and they can disagree, right? And if you understand that relationship, then you can look at it. So like right now, both parties agree. So there's probably more buying influence just off of that signal alone than not. But oftentimes, like, let me find an example. Let me see if I can show you guys what I'm talking about here. Well, let's back up. So there might be situations where like you get this like head fake. Here's one right here. So again, majors, major impact in the market, minors, right? They think that it's time to go up, or at least they start buying. See, this is why this is so important, is understanding this alone could really save a lot of people a lot of headache. See, a lot of people who just try to dabble in a trading don't get really a lot of training around how this market works. A lot of the big players use little guys that don't know what they're doing. They use their liquidity to buy up more positions and position themselves more into the market. So little guys will get into the market and they'll just get run out, and like they'll freak out, they'll panic, they'll sell their positions back, and they'll lose a whole bunch of money. And really, like, that's just a play. Like, it's kind of like if you were to watch sports and you see like a basketball player or football player on the field, and they kind of like go away, and like the defense follows that, and then they just, they completely head fake them, and the defense falls and fumbles on themselves while the guy with the ball makes a fast getaway. And that's really what's happening. The majors do the exact same things. They kind of present this like, oh, this is what we're doing. No, not really. And a bunch of, little guys buy up positions. And then sure enough, these guys finally get back on track and move in the right direction. And so these are just some of the things you get to learn about the majors and minors. But it's kind of good to at least like understand the basics around these guys. And that is like, for right now, we want you guys just focusing on that when they agree is probably the best signal, because that's the majority saying, yeah, we're going up, or we're going to be selling this market, we're going to be shorting the market. All right, so if you guys have any questions around that, I'm going to move into a different time frame now, but that's about what I'm looking for on my longer term charts. Now, the 5-minute chart is more of like my signal chart. What I'm basically doing is I'm waiting for the 5-minute to line up and in conjunction with my 60-minute chart, right? So you guys are learning about basically what I'm going to be going over already. Your guys' chart looks like this, right? This looks really familiar to a lot of you guys right now, and that is the 5-minute and the 1-minute. So all I'm really doing is I'm adding in some of the things that I learned in advanced training. That is, using up different time frames. Now, again, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't have to be a 60-minute. It could be a different time frame if you've only got time to maybe look at the market for a few minutes, place a long-term trade, and then going back to taking care of your family, going to work, whatever it is. For me, you know, like I've got an hour or two every day to kind of dabble in the markets. And so this works for me. So what I'm going to be doing is if I was going to take a trade, now what I want to see is I've got my eye on the majors. I want to see these guys drop below the oversold line. Really basic stuff that you guys have probably already learned from somebody or a video already at this point. I want to see this value drop below 20 or 20 or below. When that happens, then I'm going to shift my attention over to the 1-minute chart. And from there, it's the trigger. I call it the trigger. It's when it happens, it's the trigger that gets me to go and click the button and take my trade. So for me, 5-minute, 20 or lower in this case for a buy signal, 80 or higher for sell, but we're going to be looking for a sell signal. Once that happens, I want my TNTs to agree with the direction. And again, like pressure, same thing. The 3 rules that I like to apply to my pressure indicator, I just want to make sure that they're lining up with the 5-minute. Once that happens, I want to make sure that we're on our way up on the 1-minute. So the 1-minute is just going to get me into the trade. It's timing, right? It's like, I know I'm going to be buying now. Now it's trying to get the best price possible. It's almost like an auction. It's like I am trying to find the best position, the best price. Because when I'm scalping, getting a pip or 2 pips better price could mean the difference of me winning or even losing that trade. So that's why it's like I'm sitting back and I'm just patient and I'm waiting. Sometimes it doesn't come. That's okay. There's always going to be another trade. There's another pair that I could watch or look at. I have that ability to look at that. But it's just patience. It's just sitting back and it's waiting. So my trigger looks very similar to what you guys are already learning, and that is if I'm buying, I'm going to wait for a green candle to cross past my 1-minute pressure line and cross on the other side. When that happens, so can't really tell. I don't think that one's quite there, but it would be a green candle up above both lines with green on top. Now, green is not on top on this 1-minute pressure, so that would not be a trigger. Okay, it would look something like probably like this right here. So green on top, green candle. We would go into the broker and we would place a buy trade right there. All right, cool. So I want to take a trade with you guys tonight. That is my goal. So a couple things that we're going to be looking at is I don't see this dropping anytime soon, but I was just checking USD JPY. We're hitting it about the 50 mark. So let's just take a minute and go through this and understand why there's a possibility of a trade setting up here. So first things first, 60-minute. What do you guys see? I want to test you guys, see if you guys have been paying attention. What is it? Okay, so Jenny's got a question, but let me ask a question and then I'll answer some questions coming in here. What do you guys see on the 60-minute and what direction should we be scalping tonight? Jenny asks, how much is a scalp? That's a really good question, Jenny. I hate just giving a number and saying that's a scalp, because my number and someone else's, another scalper's number could be completely different. I've scalped 10 pip trades before. I've scalped, believe it or not, 15 pip trades before. It really depends on the volatility of the market. But I would venture to say for me, a scalp is going to range between about 3 and 5 pips. That's my personal preference. Now, I've scalped lesser. It just really depends on what the market's dishing out. And there are ways that I can look at that and see, like in the mornings, the market's going to be more volatile for me versus maybe in the afternoons. But the market's going to be more consistent oftentimes in the afternoons. So a lot of scalpers like to trade in the afternoons because the market just generally picks a direction and they just cash in on it. because it's just really easy to see, and the indicators are just plain as day. This is the direction you should be going. All right, so I got some answers on my questions. So Trevor says sell, great. Joni saying sell. Yep, 60 minutes says sell, perfect. Okay, perfect. Todd saying 3 out of 4 indicators. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I believe, guys, that if people would just the pressure alone, if you were just to follow the direction of the pressure, you'd be surprised at how successful you could be at this. And then on top of it, you have like super accurate indicators that are going to even clean that up even more. But the first thing that I saw right out of the gate is I'm like, well, I don't want to trade against this. You know, pressure is pointing down, right? And then you look at the majors, you look at your TNTs. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear with you guys. Now, what's the second thing that I'm going to be looking for? Yeah, so Marcus, yeah, exactly. Like your scalp is going to be a little bit different, you know, than mine, and that's okay. And the funny thing is like a 10 pip scalp. I mean, that still you're in and out of the market maybe 30 minutes to an hour. That's still really, you know, that's a short time in comparison to a lot of things, like people who are holding on to trades for weeks, months, even years. So I mean, to me, that's still a scalp trade, right? So what's the next thing that I'm going to be looking for or waiting for, guys? So we've determined our direction. So you guys said 60-minute is selling on USDJPY. Pretty clear on that. Okay. So maybe we're not fully clear on it. Okay, got some answers coming in here. Let me see. Okay, so so that would be a trigger. So we had red on top and looking for the candle. So it looks like you guys are jumping to the 1 minute. And maybe this is my fault. Like let's just kind of clean this up a little bit. So the second thing I'm going to be going to is once I determine my direction, I'm going to go to the 5-minute chart. And from there, we're going to wait for, in this case, we're going to wait for an 80 or higher signal on the majors. Once my majors hit 80 or higher, so that's this green number on the 5-minute chart right here. Okay, we got some more answers here. Yeah, value. Okay, Sterling, awesome. Yep, 80, perfect. Okay, Trevor, thank you. Yeah, great. Okay, cool. So we got that. And then once we hit 80 or higher, the next thing that I'm gonna be looking for to kind of firm up that we're gonna be moving down. Let's see if you guys remember. I didn't spend a lot of time on this. So what is the next thing? I would say the third thing that I'm gonna be looking for. Give you guys a minute here. Okay, so some of you guys are jumping right into the trigger. So I'm not quite ready to get to the trigger chart yet. I'm not going to move into the 1-minute chart. I want a little bit more confirmation that we're going to start moving downward. Okay, so yeah, I didn't spend a lot of time on this, so I'm glad I'm asking this question. So I want to clean this up. Okay, so the third thing, once we hit 80 or higher, is I'm going to wait to see if the TNTs start shifting down. They start moving down. Okay, so let's back up. I'm on my 5-minute chart right now. So if you're looking at my computer, so we're at 50 there. Look at my TNTs. They're saying we're moving up. So let's pretend like we hit 80 or higher. Then look at those TNTs shift down. If that happened, if I hit 80 or higher and then my TNT shift down, then I would go to my trigger chart. So the third part of my rule is I want my TNTs, my orange TNTs, to agree with the direction that they're basically giving me the sign, the signal that like, yes, we've hit kind of a top. Now we're going to be shifting downward. Okay. There we go. Awesome. Yep. Yep, we need confirmation the majors move down. Perfect. Okay, cool. And then the next thing is now we move into the trigger. Now that I've got confirmation that we're moving down, now I'm like, all right, all systems go. And then we wait for a candle that looks like this right here. Red candle, red on top, crosses past pressure. So let's take this trade. I want to take this with you guys so you guys know. For those of you who are new and haven't seen anybody place a trade yet, so I would go into USDJPY because that's who we were looking at. Okay, and the easiest way, there's a couple ways you can place a trade. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because honestly, you could watch 100 videos and people are going to show you how to place a trade. I'm just going to click the sell button, but you just want to make sure you're trading the right currency pair, and I'm going to hit sell. So what that means, guys, is I want to short this market. I want to make I want to make money as the market drops down. How fantastic and cool is that? That we can make money in any kind of market, whether the market's going up or the market's going down, I can make money. Okay? And we're going to go for a 3 pip trade. So I'm going to click on that dotted entry line. Over here, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to drag it to 30. 30, and I'm going to let that go. All right, so if we win that trade right there, for me, I'm going to make $143.64. Okay, you guys are probably keeping it right around one lot. That's okay. Let's stay there. We're not going to get into position sizing tonight. And then we always protect our trades. Okay, all day traders, all smart day traders have a limit on how much they're willing to lose. I promise you guys, if you guys do not determine that early on, you will not last long at this game. So I'm going to set the example. Tonight, we're just going to keep it at 90. In advanced training, there are better ways that we can clean stop losses up so we don't lose as much. But for right now, I'm just going to let this market stretch for you guys if it has to. But we're going to go for 3 pips, and it's going to be a 90 point stop or a 9 pip stop. It looks like 90. So if you click and drag that green line up in the opposite direction, over here on the left-hand side, notice how it says 90. And then just let that go. Down here in your trade portal, that's the trade that we just placed. You'll notice that it gives you the information. So the size of the trade, the symbol that we're trading, the price, the stop loss, the take profit, how much money we paid in commissions, and then where it currently sits. All right, any questions on how we took that? Yeah, sure. And Trevor, that's a great comment. You know, he says, I love the small scalps, pips are pips. 10 a day is all you need. You know, the funny thing is like a lot of people get really fixated on the amount of pips that they need to make in a day. I hear a lot of people huck around like, oh, I made 100 pips a day, or I made 150 pips a day, or 200 pips a day, or whatever. The funny thing is like, if you know how to do this the correct way and leverage your account the correct way, I can make probably as much money in a 3 pip trade as someone that is trying to make a 100 pip trade. And it's all based on account size and leveraging it the correct way. If you don't know how to do that, then you're going to make mistakes and blow your account. But if you know how to do it responsibly and you get good training around it, then I can make 3 pip trades and make hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in a matter of minutes. And to some of you, that might not even make sense. You're like, well, you know, I don't get that. And it's like, yeah, that's how this works. But the thing is you have to have an account that supports that. If I have $1,000 account, that's probably not going to make a lot of sense. Like that's over leveraging my account. But if I have a $50,000 or $100,000 account, like the size of account that you get to trade with the corporate, then yeah, it's very, very possible. I see it all the time where people scalp and make a lot of money in just a matter of minutes. So All right, so um, got to kind of clean this up, guys, because we're running out of time here, and I'm supposed to be done here at 8, so I got about 3 minutes. So I'm just making sure there's no technical questions around what we talked about tonight. And if you have any questions, make sure that you're communicating and working with your Lite coach during this time, and they'll be able to answer a lot of these questions. Like Jordan, that question around depositing money, that's something that your Lite coach can definitely help you out with, how that all works. So, all right, cool guys. I appreciate you guys being on here. Trade's not doing too bad. I think we're well on the way. So I just want to take a minute and just go over some of the things that we got going on the in our company during this time of the year. So lots going on. We've decided to really kind of open up the doors for a lot of you, for those of you who are interested in moving into advanced training. So I just want to take a second and kind of go over like some of the things that we've got going on that could really kickstart you into a good 2021 where you got um, a newfound, what do we call this, like a business or your trading career. How about that? So a couple things is, you know, tis the season to be giving, right? Like if for those of you who have friends or family members who might be interested in learning how to trade or have been affected by the COVID market, it's a great time of year to give the gift of our trial for only $10. We actually are donating the money to Sub for Santa, so you get to help out with that cause. But if you do have friends or family members who might be interested in working with you during your time, as you're going through the trial with us, and that's something that I did. I worked with people. Proximity is huge for me. When I started surrounding myself with people who were like-minded and who had the same goals and ambitions as me, that's when it just took off for me. And the best way that I was able to do that was to find traders or find people who wanted to make money in the markets. So if you're interested or you know people who are like you that want to learn how to do this, just get with the person that invited you into this and they'll get them hooked up for 10 bucks. For those of you who are ready to jump into advanced training, get your coaching started, we have got some serious incentives for you guys to take advantage of. So first thing is you can choose between getting some credits towards your upgrade or extra coaching. So you just need to make sure you know your way around these packages, the Platinum, Executive, Premium. Make sure you understand which one is a good fit for you. Every one of them has some different things in it that is going to probably work better than others. So just make sure you get clear around what that is, and then just decide on whether you want the extra coaching or the money off. Me personally, I would want to spend more time with my mentor, my coach, right? Like I can never really get that time back, but the more time and energy that I put into my learning capabilities, the easier it is for me to make $750, $1,000 or $1,200 back in my trading, right? Like that's just dollars. We can make that back, but time and energy and coaching is valuable. So that's just what I chose. When you guys upgrade, you guys get a ticket to our event. We do these events every month. Our next event is coming up on the 11th with Coach Troy. These are 6-hour events. These are jam-packed full of tons of valuable information. I would highly recommend that you get to one of these events. I've done several of them myself, and I love attending them because I get something new every time I hear them. So we do these every month. There's the dates. Obviously we do these via webinar and we record them. The cool thing is this year we decided to do something that we've never done before. So for those of you who do upgrade before December 20th, we're going to give you an entire year's worth of access to these events. And you see that right there. I mean, that is a membership in and of itself. If you don't believe me, take 6 hours, times it by 12. That's about how much hours of training that you're going to get. But on top of that, we record these events and you're going to get access to all the previously recorded events, I think back to at least 1 year worth of events. So you can go back and watch all the events that we've done at least 12 months back. So there you go, like tons of information that I would be surprised if you have the time to get through all of it. So For those that go into platinum, we're actually granting lifetime access to our events. So this is something that we've never done before. Typically with a platinum package, it is 1 year's worth of access to the events. Platinums, you guys will actually get lifetime access to that. So fantastic. Just a reminder, guys, to be using our Trader Chat application. Hopefully you guys have got that downloaded on your phone. If you do not, go to Trade University. Click on the tab there at the top and follow the instructions on how to download it. It works on either platform, either Apple or Google Play. You just got to set it up with a new password to get into it. So pretty simple. And then guys, I just want to take a second and make sure you guys are getting to these webinars. Obviously, you're at the Wednesday night Lite member meeting. We do this webinar once a week. It's a 1-hour webinar. But we also do a webinar on Monday through Thursdays. It's the Lite webinar. This is very important for you guys to get onto these webinars so that it helps you transition into your advanced training. We cover a lot of things that can really help facilitate that transition. So if you can't make it to any of these live, we do record these, and you guys can access that through the events tab in Trade University there. But try to get into these and participate in them. They are done live, and we do them at different times of the day: Monday, Thursday nights, and Tuesday, Wednesday mornings. And then Friday we do not have a webinar. You guys also have access to the AIT webinar. And then when you guys move into advanced training, you guys will have access to those webinars as well. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys being on here. If you have any questions, I'm gonna leave you with my number. I know we covered a lot of stuff here tonight, so I'm gonna type it out and send it to all of you guys. My number is 208-339-3667. And again, if you didn't catch it in the beginning, my name's Trent. So I'm gonna send this to all. I just text that out to all you guys. So there you go. Send me a text. Typically after the webinars, my phone might get bombarded with a few questions, so I'll try and answer them in a timely manner. So be patient with me. But yeah, if you have any questions around what we talked about tonight or discussed, I'm an open book. I'm happy to chat with you guys. But yeah, good luck. Get out there and get trading. You can't replace the experience that you're going to get by just clicking that button and really digging into this. So, all right, guys, have fun, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.